Very good afternoon. You're watching the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us start the news bulletin with the top headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi offers prayers at a Kedarnath Temple, reviews the reconstruction projects in the temple town. PM to pay obeisance at a Badrinath Temple tomorrow. BJP Chief Amit Shah performs puja at Somnath Temple in Gujarat. Stage set for 7th and final phase of Lok Sabha polls, 59 seats across 7 states and Union Territory of Chandigarh to vote tomorrow. Over 10 crore voters to decide fate of 918 candidates. Prominent faces include PM Narendra Modi in the fray. Elaborate security arrangements in West Bengal in wake of poll violence. Over 700 companies of paramilitary forces deployed across 9 Lok Sabha seats. By polls for 4 assembly seats in Tamil Nadu also tomorrow. Opposition steps up efforts to form post-poll alliance. TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu meets Congress President Rahul Gandhi, also meets Sharad Yadav, holds talks with the CPI's Sudhakar Reddy and D. Rajya, also expected to meet Mayawati and Akhilesh Yadav this evening. And Australia votes in country's national election. Prime Minister Scott Morrison's Conservative government facing close contest with opposition Australian Labor Party led by Bill Shorten. Voters hope for stability as no Prime Minister has succeeded in serving full term since 2007. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Uttarakhand on a 2-day visit. Arriving in the hill state this morning, PM Modi offered prayers at the Kedarnath Temple. Dressed in a traditional Pahari outfit, Prime Minister Modi performed puja at the Himalayan temple for around half an hour and also undertook the parikrama of the shrine. Prime Minister Modi also took stock of the ongoing developmental projects in the temple town. Now, this is PM Modi's 4th visit to the temple dedicated to Lord Shiv in the last 2 years. He will offer prayers at the Badrinath Temple on Sunday. Stringent security arrangements have been made for the Prime Minister's visit. And while Prime Minister Narendra Modi offered prayers in Uttarakhands Kedarnath, BJP Chief Amit Shah sought the blessings of Lord Shiv at Somnath Temple in Gujarat. Visiting with his family, Amit Shah performed puja at the Somnath Temple. And now let's get to all the election-related news. Stage is all set for the 7th and final phase of Lok Sabha polls to be held tomorrow. 59 constituencies across 7 states and Union Territory of Chandigarh will vote in the 7th phase on 19th of May. Over 1,12,000 polling stations are in place for the smooth conduct of polls. Over 10 crore voters will seal the fate of 918 candidates in this phase. Polling will take place at 13 seats each in UP and Punjab, 9 seats in West Bengal, 8 seats each in Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. Also voting in this phase are the states of Himachal Pradesh, where voting will take place in all the 4 Lok Sabha seats, 3 seats in Jharkhand and 1 seat in Chandigarh. Talking about the key candidates in this phase, of course, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is seeking re-election from Varanasi seat. And apart from him, several union ministers are also in the fray, including Manoj Sinha from Ghazipur, Anupriya Patel from Mirzapur, Ravi Shankar Prasad from Patna Sahib, Ram Kripal Yadav from Patliputra, R.K. Singh from Ara, Hardeep Singh Puri from Amritsar, Harsimrat Kaur Badal from Bhatinda, and Ashwini Kumar Chaube from Buxar. And other prominent faces in this phase are Shatrughan Sinha from Patna Sahib, who is contesting on a Congress ticket this time. Former Union Ministers Upendra Kushwaha, former Lok Sabha Speaker Meera Kumar, Lalu Prasad Yadav's daughter Visa Bharti, and also actor Sunny Deol. Meanwhile, in the wake of incidents of poll violence in West Bengal, the Election Commission has ordered heavy deployment of central forces in the state to ensure free and fair polls. A total of 710 companies of the central forces are being deployed by the Election Commission to ensure free and fair polls in the state. Earlier, the Election Commission had curtailed campaigning in West Bengal for the 7th phase by almost a day. Campaigning in West Bengal ended at 10 p.m. on 16th of May, while for all the rest of the other states, it ended at 5 p.m. on 17th of May. All right, our colleagues are joining us from the ground for more updates on the situation and the preparations ahead of the final phase of Lok Sabha polls. We have with us Kriti Mishra, who's joining us from Varanasi. Navvikram Singh is also joining us from Indore in Madhya Pradesh. Anu Diwan is joining us from Kolkata. Akhilesh Suman is joining us from Bihar, and we will also have Ravindra Singh Shoran joining us from Punjab. Let's first go across to Anu Diwan, who is joining us from Kolkata. Anu, as far as the 7th and the final phase of Lok Sabha elections, of course, the key state that everybody will be keenly watching will be, of course, West Bengal, because so far we have seen that all the phases in the state election saw violence, not only in the election, but also during campaigning. 710 companies of paramilitary forces are going to be deployed. Now tell us what is the mood of the electorate just a day ahead of polling?
Definitely, Aishwarya, as we have seen in all the phases, the phases were the victims of violence, and in the 7th phase, after the Election Commission has deployed all the security forces and assured 100% security covered to the people of West Bengal during voting, but we are still thinking that whether Kolkata will go for violence or a non-violence. Will Kolkata be able to vote under the peaceful and fairful elections or not? Talking about the mood of the electorals, they are definitely talking about, because they have seen that all the 6 phases have been the victim of violence in West Bengal. Now they are definitely talking about the security. They are more concerned about the security. They say that if they go out and vote, there should not be any violence. They should be given a protection. They should be they should be under the security forces cover. So this time, the West Bengal people, apart from the other issues, the major concern is the security. Aishwarya, this time I am starting on the polling station. I would like you to see that behind me you can see that the central forces have been deployed in the polling station even before the EVM machines have arrived. So this means from the morning 10 o'clock the security forces have been deployed in all the polling stations, seeing the security concerns, and they will remain until and unless EVM machines are here. Telling about the preparations, around 17,058 polling booths have been prepared, where 461 quick response team will be deployed, and apart from that, 178 quick response team will be from the Kolkata police, and apart from that, 710 companies of central forces are deployed in all the polling stations, seeing the safety and security of all the polling stations as well as the people who come out and vote for their voting rights. So we can say that the Kolkata is under the totally cover of the central security forces, but we have to see whether that the 7th phase of polling goes peacefully or not, or otherwise it's again a victim of violence once again, like the 6 other phases have gone till now.
Absolutely. All eyes are going to be on Kolkata and also the rest of the constituencies in West Bengal that are going to polls in the 7th and final phase. Let us get an update on Bihar as well. Akhilesh Suman is joining us from Bihar's Patna Sahib. Akhilesh, of course, we have been talking about the very interesting contest in Patna Sahib. But speaking about all the seats that are going to polls in this particular phase, of course, political equations have changed. Last time we had seen that 7 of those seats were won by the NDA, 5 of them by the BJP and 2 by the RLSP. One was backed by the JDU, but that is again back with the BJP. Now, how do the political equations look like?
Right. Aishwarya, before going into the details of the situation, I'll just give you a feel of the one center where EVM machines are being distributed from here. And you can see the polling officials who are receiving EVMs there, VVPAT machines there, and they are going to the respective booths. In Bihar, there is a special arrangement that presiding officers and polling officers go beforehand, they take care of the booth, they take hold of the booth, and then the last moment, patrolling parties go there with EVM and VVPAT machines for enough security. So, that in that backdrop, I can just tell you that Bihar is going to undergo a very interesting election this time. Given the fact that, NDA has been trying to, polarize people on the issue of nationalism, but later the development works done by NDA government and also Nitish Kumar government has become the center stage in this phase of election, in the 7th phase of election. And, NDA and BJP are telling people that how central schemes have benefited people, how it has gone down to the villages and towns to the last mile beneficiaries. And also Nitish Kumar and his ally BJP is claiming that how JDU has taken the state from lawlessness to the development path. Law and order situation has become better. Electricity is almost 24 hours everywhere. Road infrastructure is also very good. So they are claiming that this, momentum of Bihar should be there. And that is why they are asking people to vote for NDA candidate. And JDU is indeed a very qualitative, addition in BJP fold. And I think BJP is trying to get benefit out of it. But if you see on the other side, that there is a perennial problem of Bihar, that is migration from this state to other state, like Maharashtra, like Gujarat, like Delhi, even in Guwahati and Jammu and Kashmir, you will find Bihari people going there as a wage labor or a skilled worker, computer software professionals, everywhere you will find people. So Bihar people are telling that there should be enough employment opportunities. When now Plateau has been established in Bihar, that big businesses should come here, factories and investments should come here, so that energy of Bihar should be contained here and people don't go out to seek job elsewhere and feel humiliation sometimes. So these are the two issues that is confronting the electorate of Bihar, and I think both types of conglomerations, NDA and Grand Alliance is claiming that if they come to power, if their alliance comes to power, they will address the issue of Bihar, either perennial or temporary issues. So I think this last phase has come on the normal, natural, real issue of Bihar, and I think all political parties are trying to address it, and they are claiming that after the government is formed, they will address this situation.
All right. And Akhilesh, that is the beauty of democracy. Of course, there are challenges like what we are seeing in West Bengal. As we were talking to Anu Diwan, of course, there are challenges for the Election Commission. But the way you have shown the preparations that are on in full swing there ahead of polling tomorrow, that is, of course, the beauty of our democracy. We'll also get updates from Kriti Mishra, who took stock of the poll preparations in Varanasi. We'll come back to her, but she spoke to the officers there about the poll preparations in Varanasi. Let's take a listen first.
Stage is all set for the penultimate phase in Uttar Pradesh, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is seeking his second term from the constituency of Varanasi. The Election Commission has made all the arrangements. In fact, there are 167 candidates in the fray for 13 Lok Sabha seats. The highest number of 26 candidates in the fray are from Varanasi. The least number of 4 candidates are fighting the polls from Basgaon Lok Sabha seat. Over 2.32 crore voters are expected to exercise their franchise in the last phase of this election in Uttar Pradesh. As many as 25,000 874 polling booths have been set up in 13,979 polling centres. In the last elections in 2014, the BJP had swept this region. This time, the stakes are very high for the BJP, the SP, BSP and RLD alliance, as well as for the Congress party. Reporting from Varanasi with camera person Jitendra Negi, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And in fact, Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Varanasi. Kriti, you have described in detail about the poll preparation, so we'll not ask you about that. Tell us about of course, the blockbuster contests that are going to be seen tomorrow, apart from, of course, the contest in Varanasi, where PM Modi is seeking a second term.
Of course, the spotlight is going to be on Varanasi, where Prime Minister Modi is seeking his second term. But remember, many political pundits are saying that his victory from Varanasi is a foregone conclusion. But remember, the opposition parties, whether it is the SP, BSP, RLD alliance or the Congress, they have upped the ante against the BJP and are trying to give the BJP a tough fight. There are several important key contests in this particular phase in Uttar Pradesh. For instance, Gorakhpur, which is considered the stronghold of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. But in 2018, by polls, the BJP had to suffer setback in Gorakhpur, wherein it lost the seat to Praveen Kumar of the Nishad party, who was the SP alliance, who was the SP candidate. But since then, Praveen Nishad has switched the sides and has joined the BJP and has been fitted by the BJP as the candidate from Sant Kabir Nagar. So the BJP is absolutely confident this time of wresting the seat from the alliance and holding it again, since it is the citadel of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. There's another very interesting contest in Kushinagar from where former MOS home RPN Singh of the Congress party is also in electoral fray. He is also trying to give a tough fight. But remember, the BJP and the alliance, they are also hoping to make their way back in Kushinagar. There are other interesting contests, for instance, in Chandauli, from where BJP State President Mahendranath Pandey is also in electoral fray. Ghazipur, from where Manoj Sinha, who is the Union Minister, he is contesting, as well as Mirzapur, where Anupriya Patel, another Union Minister, she is in the fray. So certainly this phase is very, very important for the BJP, given the performance that they gave in the 2014 Lok Sabha elections. The BJP is hoping to replicate that kind of performance, because remember, in UP's Paralance, it is said that the eastern Uttar Pradesh, the seats from Uttar Pradesh, the way the government formation, the path of government formation passes through eastern Uttar Pradesh only. So certainly all political parties are eyeing maximum seats in this zone. As far as the alliance of the SP, BSP and RLD, that is concerned, it is hoping to reap maximum electoral gains and dividends from this particular phase. And also the Congress is trying to resurrect itself, basing on the campaign that was carried out by Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi. So certainly stakes are very high for all the political parties, and now tomorrow 2.32 crore voters who are eligible to exercise their franchise would decide the fate of around 167 candidates. Over to you, Aishwarya.
All right. Now let us try to understand what is happening in western Madhya Pradesh. Now, Vikram, you are in Indore. Give us an update on the preparations that are on ahead of the final phase of elections tomorrow in Madhya Pradesh.
ऐश्वर्या, यहाँ पर अंतिम चरण के लिए चुनाव आयोग ने अपना अंतिम रूप दे दिया है तैयारियों को। वहाँ लगातार हमने यहाँ पर ख़ास तौर पर इंदौर में देखा कि इंदौर में यहाँ चुनाव आयोग ने खासी तैयारियाँ की हैं। साथ ही जो पोलिंग पार्टीज़ हैं उसके लिए यहाँ पर ख़ास इंतज़ाम किए हैं। ऐसा हमने कई इलाकों में चुनाव कवर किए हैं, उसमें देखने को नहीं मिला। यहाँ जो पोलिंग पार्टीज़ हैं उनको लेकर ख़ास तौर पर ईवीएम एक जगह बिठाया गया, वहीं ईवीएम उन्हें डिस्ट्रीब्यूट की गई। ये अक्सर कम देखने को मिलता है। और इसके अलावा चुनाव आयोग ने यहाँ पर वॉलंटियर्स को भी तैनात किया, जो स्कूल के स्टूडेंट्स हैं। इसके अलावा मत प्रतिशत बढ़ाने के लिए जो मुहिम चलाई जा सकती है स्वीप एक्टिविटीज़ के ज़रिए, वो सब तैयारियां चुनाव आयोग ने मत प्रतिशत बढ़ाने के लिए की है। क्योंकि गर्मी का मौसम है, ऐसे में चुनाव आयोग की कोशिश है कि जो विधानसभा में पहले चुनाव हुआ था उससे ज़्यादा मतदान हो सके। जी ऐश्वर्या।
All right, now let's get a sense of on what is happening in Punjab. Ravindra Singh Shuran is joining us from Anandpur Sahib. Ravindra, speaking about Punjab, of course, the sad BJP and Congress are the two main contenders as far as this election is concerned. But at the same time, Aam Aadmi Party is facing an existential crisis as far as this election is concerned. Give us an update from Punjab as what is happening there just a day ahead of polls. All right, we seem to have lost contact with our reporter there. We'll try to connect back to him in the subsequent bulletins. We'd like to thank our reporters who joined us. Thank you so much, Kriti, Akhilesh, Navikram and Anu, who joined us from the ground to give us all the updates on the election a day ahead of the final phase. Meanwhile, by-polls for 4 Vidhan Sabha seats of Tamil Nadu will also be held tomorrow. 63 candidates are in the fray for the assembly seats there of the 4 constituencies that are going to vote tomorrow. By-polls to 18 seats were held on 18th of April along with the 38 Lok Sabha segments in the state. Heavy deployment of around 16,000 personnel has been ordered. Meanwhile, the other big developing story this hour is that opposition is stepping up efforts to cobble up a third front ahead of the last phase of polling tomorrow. Now, leading the charge, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister and TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu held a meeting with the Congress President Rahul Gandhi at his residence. The two leaders discussed possible alliances in the post-election scenario. Now, the TDP chief also met with the LJD leader Sharad Yadav to discuss alliance. He is also scheduled to meet NCP Supremo Sharad Yadav later in the day, and in the evening he is also likely to visit Lucknow to hold alliance talks with Mayawati and Akhilesh Yadav. Let's get to some other news now. The centre has issued a drought advisory to Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Tamil Nadu, asking them to use the water there judiciously. Now, this as the water storage in dams dropped to a critical level. The total water storage available in 91 major reservoirs in the country is 35.99 billion cubic meters, which is 22% of the total storage capacity of these reservoirs. The figure was at 24% for the week ending 9th of May. The drought advisory is issued to the states when the water level in reservoir is 20% less than the average of live water storage figures for the past 10 years. Buddha Purnima, marking the birth anniversary of Lord Buddha, is being celebrated across the country today. According to legends, all 3 major events of the life of Gautam Buddha, his birth, enlightenment and nirvana, took place on this day in different years. The day is celebrated by Hindus and Buddhists across the world, especially in South and Southeast Asian countries, where it is celebrated as Vesak. President Ramnath Kovind has said that Lord Buddha's message of peace, non-violence and compassion holds even greater significance today. And in a Twitter message, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said that Lord Buddha was one of the most illustrious spiritual leaders who preached the most profound truths. He said that Gautam Buddha's eternal message of non-violence and compassion continues to inspire humanity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also greeted the people on the occasion. He said that his teachings of truth, non-violence, compassion and peace will keep inspiring people. The top international focus, Australians began voting on Saturday in the first general election since political infighting ousted the nation's 4th leader in a decade. Prime Minister Scott Morrison's Conservative government is facing a close contest with the Social Democratic Australian Labor Party led by Bill Shorten. Now, PM Scott Morrison says that he has united his Conservative government in the 9 months since he replaced Malcolm Turnbull. Opposition leader Shorten is a former union leader who previously led his party to a narrow loss in 2016 but has remained in place since then. The nation holds elections every 3 years, but no Prime Minister has succeeded in serving a full term since 2007. Australia, remember, has a mandatory voting and a record 16.4 million enrolled voters. Surveys have shown that economy, cost of living, environment and health are the central concerns for voters. And in more international news, Britain's opposition Labour Party ended the crucial cross-party Brexit talks with embattled Prime Minister Theresa May on Friday without a deal. The opposition party said that negotiations have gone as far as they can after the talks ended. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn wrote to Theresa May to declare an end to the negotiation process, blaming the weakness and instability of her government. Meanwhile, May in turn has blamed Labour for not having a common position within its own ranks on issues such as a second referendum. Britain's exit from the 28-member European Union was due to take place on 29th of March. However, after the MPs voted down the deal that Theresa May negotiated with the bloc 3 times, the EU gave UK an extension until 31st of October. And that is the wrap on this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.